Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so humbled to follow Vanessa. It begs the question, what is the possible motive here for this horrendous and outrageous activity, clearly by our own government are involved, our own regime, to justify what's going on there? So I'm asking the question, and I'm going to submit this to you. And this is what my opinion is after some 5 years of being provoked into acting and doing something via Admiral Sandy Woodward, who was the lead admiral down in the Falklands when we went to retake those islands. And despite nothing that he tried in 2010 and 2011 at Defence Committee with Major General Julian Thompson, nothing has changed. The EU, as I believe, not the strategic and defence security view that we were told by the political interface that purports to represent us, was really an EU review. And the reason I think that, and this is what I've come to, when you follow the money, and there's an awful lot of money involved in defence and defence industry, the two go hand in glove. You cannot consider them separate. When you follow the money, you find the policy. And this is the trail over 5 years that I've chiseled out. And I've met many heads of service, admirals, generals, chiefs of defence staff. I've tried to interact with many MPs, the majority of which don't want to discuss this because the party will not allow them, or the controllers of the party will not allow them to speak about it. And that includes Nigel Farage, despite the fact he gets on the stage and goes, and now they're calling for an EU army. Well, when I challenged him face to face, along with Roger Helmer, he ran from me. Ran. So, I have to, well, maybe. I have to thank Brian, because we've been working together for quite some time now. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to submit to you the benefits of service, what we have here with Brian, and the extraordinary work that's undertaken there at the UKC, and an example to us all to go out and propagate, and to challenge, and shine the light on these dark corners. So, the matter at hand. This is a quote, and I read this quote to a former Chief of Defence Staff in the Queen's private chambers in the Tower in London, in the city. It took me quite some time to get to him, but eventually, after a cup of tea in the House of Lords, there was a subsequent meeting arranged. And the clue's in the title: United States of Europe. Our whole concept for the unification of Europe was that it would first contribute to economic unification. Then we hoped to secure economic and military unity. And finally, political unity. Now, the gentleman that made that quote is a guy called Averell Harriman. He was chief envoy to the Marshall Plan for the alleged rebuilding of Europe after World War II. The Marshall Plan was drafted, conceived at the Bank of International Settlements during World War II, and was then subsequently executed. Its first steps were to take control of coal and steel, the pillars of any nation. So, Averell Harriman was a very big financier in America prior to the war, and was a supporter of, and I'm told, a supporter of Nazi Germany and a funder of Nazi Germany. His subsequent funding after the war is extraordinary, some of the things that he was involved with. But anyway, so Britain's defence, Her Majesty's Armed Services, the Crown Armed Services, because obviously the guys and girls that are in there swear allegiance to the Crown, first and foremost, have been hollowed out. Many officers have used this word, hollowed out. I would submit, stripped out. And first and foremost, the thing that was attacked first in Britain in 1957 was the Duncan Sandys single point purchase, clue in the title, single point purchase for defence industry. So we homologated all of these industries that were active and productive, making timely goods, jobs, okay, families, stability, were homologated into one, which has now become BAE. At which point now, of course, the first thing they did, execute TSR2. There's a decision made, you as a nation are not going to manufacture your own aircraft. This is going to be done on a pan-European basis. So the first thing, Panavia with a Tornado, clue, European. The same as E for now, Tornado. It's the European fighter for the European Air Force. Okay? So we're seeing our entire military now, and the words that the heads of service now use are interoperability, quality, mass. Okay, interoperability means we are not able to conduct anything like we did in the Falklands by design. The policy was designed that way. So, you don't need a Royal Navy or a Royal Air Force or a British Army or Royal Marines if you're not going to be a nation. Because the principles at the BIS that the central bankers adhere to, they only recognize the money. They don't recognize countries. They don't, as we've heard, they don't recognize religion. They certainly don't recognize, the other fundamentals that you may do as a society or a country. They only recognize the money, the management of the money, and the flow of the money. Now, why would we want military union? And this is the one word that will get an MP to run faster than Linford Christie. They get very irritable when you start using this language. General Darrett didn't get irritable when I quoted him that. Now, bearing in mind, he was a chief of defense staff, was unaware of that recipe. We will have our whole plan back at the BIS. First step, currency union. Tick, done that. Next vital component to get to the final strategy of political union, which we all know is a tyranny. It's unelected, it's a tyranny. It's actually a shield in front of a bank. That's what it does. That's what the EU Parliament and the commissioners provide. A shielding system, an operating system to stop anyone getting at the money. So we can gauge by this, and this is the one thing that instantly with any party political representative, I am not going to refer to them as members of Parliament. Thank you. That they balk at, because the currency union, with the factors that we were told by Avril Harriman, that the military union is as important as the currency. So, how do we then link into Syria? Well, if we want an EU army, as they say, which is the colloquialism, but that's not what it is. It is military union, or as Fallon is now calling it, since I believe we've shone the light on him, defense union. So we've seen a lovely little cascade in the recent weeks since this, we've now Brexited. Have we? No, nothing has happened. Our military is just as entwined as it was previously. So since Brexit, we've seen Theresa May. I've had a hell of a lot of luck with admirals, generals, colonels, trying to voice this in the press. But they hit the same wall. The parties will not voice it. Nobody in Vote Leave wanted to talk about it. I put a 35-year government expert at the rank of admiral into Vote Leave, who is an expert in insurgency and counterinsurgency, and after 45 minutes came out after meeting Vote Leave's top brass and their management. This is what's going to happen. There will be a new leader, probably Theresa May. There will be a general election, and then they'll kick it in the stingers. So this was all known. I mean, Vote Leave had no intention of debating the vital componentry of what was actually the grand jury of our people needed to decide upon. Did they still want to have Her Majesty's Armed Services, a Navy, an Air Force, Royal Marines, so on and so forth, and all of the industry that's vital to go with it, that you would have to operate as a country, like steel, coal, making your own aircraft, making a ship, making a gun, whatever. Now, I'm not favouring that, obviously, I'm not a warmonger. Please don't think that. But in terms of the engineering tree, which is my background, engineering, in terms of the engineering tree in our country, it has been obliterated. You couldn't